Hey Ryan, so I was trying to think of a joke for today's episode, and you know what I figured out?
What's that?
That I think the biggest joke here is Apple trying to get into video gaming again.
Heyo!
All right, guys, another bad dad joke in another episode. This is episode 7. Today we're going to be talking about the recent news that Apple is like legitimately getting into VR. We've heard patents and everything, but now they're actually getting into it with the announcements of a couple of headsets that they're working on. But before we get into that, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, don't forget we're also on all your major podcast uh, sources, I guess. And yeah, I don't know, words not good, but check us out on there, download it, leave a review because Ryan's got a real hard on for that.
It matters.
All the review,
It matters.
all the reviews are his on there, so do him a favor, go leave a comment. We would appreciate that. And yeah, episode 7, we're gonna talk Apple. Ryan, take it away.
Yep. Bloomberg came out with a big report that basically said that Apple's working on 2 headsets, one VR headset, possibly releasing next year with an AR headset to follow. What makes this news very special is the fact that it's by all accounts, a standalone headset. So it'll be kind of encroaching into the Oculus Quest market. With the AR headset to follow, there isn't much info on that one other than that Apple likes AR. It's a big deal, man. This is it's a huge deal because one, it's not just like the next Deca Gear headset or the next whatever headset from whatever manufacturer over in Korea that decides to go enter the market. This is Apple. This is Apple entering in a market that has been relatively small. It's been slow to grow in the last 4 years, slower than everyone expected to. But obviously, with Apple kind of committing to I shouldn't say committing. There's no confirmation this is actually going to come out, but by all accounts, it sounds like it. But them kind of probably entering the VR market next year is a pretty huge deal for a multitude of reasons, which we'll cover here. How do you feel about it, Chuck? How do you feel about Apple caring about VR?
I absolutely despise Apple. And I think I have, there's no way around me getting into this, my little Apple rant. I call it the iTit because once you get off or once you get on it, it's really hard to get off. I mean, I have no doubt Apple has been an innovator, even like basically creating like the Windows operating system that we all use. And obviously with iPods and iPhones, I'm not saying that they're not innovators, but I think that with the death of Steve Jobs also was the death of Apple innovating. And the only thing they've done since then, I feel, is just get really good at marketing. And making people think they've got the best phone and the newest shit. And it's just a lie. They typically, like, they're years behind Samsung's. And I can't not go here because it prefaces everything I'm going to think about
No,
Apple
no.
moving into VR, right? Like they're years behind features like wireless charging. They remove shit like USB ports and earphone jacks and just like and make it sound like you want this. I'm not a big fan of Apple. They also are everything is very proprietary with them. So it's very Apple centric. And if it's not Apple centric, then it's usually not on Apple. Like, I mean, they even tried to get rid of Google, because they didn't like how powerful Google was getting. And for you that don't know, Google owns Android. So on top of everything else that we know Google is involved in. And so with that didn't work very well because people were driving into like lakes using Apple's map system and it wasn't as easy as they thought. But I digress. Apple to me has always stood in this little group of companies like Bose and Dre's Beats in the fact that it's technology that is actually not very good comparatively to the actual leaders of the industry, but they make you think it is. So with that, I'm not in love. I'm not excited about Apple getting into VR to use their headset because I think it's going to be super mediocre. But I am really excited for Apple to get into VR for VR because there is that attitude that a lot of people have of like Apple is like the definitive technology in like whatever market they choose to get into and such. There is that aspect. I would imagine they're probably going to bring some ease of use factors into VR just because they're pretty good at like dumbing down their products so that people like my parents can use them.
Okay.
As you can tell, not an Apple fan.
Okay.
But I actually don't have any more points. I could go on about this.
All right. I'm also not an Apple fan. I don't have as much hate as you do now, although I very much did. I don't have any Apple products in my house other than a very old iPod Nano that my daughter uses. And just navigating iTunes, I'm not a big fan of. But that being said, what they've done and how they got here, most companies have kind of followed suit in some way, shape, or form. So, while I still don't care for Apple, you know, you know, what you said, they dumb it down so your parents can use it. I can't use Apple products. Like navigating those things for me is an absolute nightmare.
Agreed. That because I feel like it's so dumbed down that I'm so used to.
Yeah.
Like I use my mom's devices, and I'm like, I'm in an app or something. I'm like, well, where's the options and the settings for this? Well, it doesn't have any. They're like, it's all in this like primary settings feature because they don't actually really want you messing with them very much. And anyways, I mean, let me just quickly package before you go back into that why I think that the Apple's proprietary and dumbed down nature could be a negative thing. I'll just give just an example. You will never see anything like SideQuest on Apple's headset. Not gonna happen. It's not gonna the open source of side loading things on the SideQuest or on the Quest at all. Not gonna happen.
Okay,
they're not gonna play ball with the Oculus store.
Look, no, they won't. I mean, I have to assume. Okay, we're running a lot of assumptions. It's hard not to do that because there isn't much info. But under the assumption that they are releasing a headset next year, Bloomberg said that it's going to be like $1,000 headset, and this is a standalone headset, so it's competing directly against the Quest. We don't know if it'll be tethered to a PC. If they're going to is this the start of like Apple getting more into like VR gaming as far as actually like porting over VR like great titles on the PC side to Mac to work with their tethered or wireless VR headset? We don't know.
Yay! I can't wait to tether to a Mac.
But realistically, it'll be if it happens, it'll be wireless, right?
I'd rather tether to my NES.
Tons of conjecture there, but by all accounts, they're releasing $1,000 headset. Now, the question is, and like you brought up, now is it worth $1,000 or is it that Apple price tag that comes along with it, where it's a $400 headset, but because it's got the big Apple logo on the front of it, they just jack up the price. And like you said too, if it's Apple, it's a guarantee. Like even SideQuest, if Facebook wanted to, they could take that away from us tomorrow if they so choose. They clearly don't want to. It's obviously
instead they're actually adopting it. They're bringing it into their operating system.
Yeah, so and that won't happen on Apple. Apple is very much a closed app source, whatever, like closed program. You can't get into it. I mean, the government, the U.S. government last year couldn't get into this phone of this terrorist, and Apple was like, "Yep, sorry, we can't help you." Like, and then all of a sudden, the government was like, "Oh no,
they're a bunch of communists. They're a bunch of commies."
Look, I get the privacy thing. I do understand Apple's side of that. That's a whole different conversation.
No. This is this part of this conversation. Did you know?
Damn commies.
That Apple phones are actually they have less hacks, but they have the most detrimental hacks. And it was actually Edward Snowden that was talking about the lies of Apple being more being better for privacy. And he said the reason is there are individuals out there. I know, I can see you're like, oh God, he's going on a tangent, but I'm going to keep it short.
I have a counterpoint, so you just.
But this relates directly to the Oculus Apple thing, which is where this is kind of going, because looks like what they're going is everyone, got their panties in a twist about the Facebook involvement and that whole mess, which is another episode entirely. But if they think that's going to get better with a competitor getting in the market. Not likely, because Apple, what Snowden was saying, and I'll tell you this in like 40 seconds. I won't go on to it. Is that he said that when it comes to, like, say, Android, if these hackers want to hack Android, there are so many different versions of the Android system running on an insane amount of different phones, that there are so many different kind of like variations that they would have to hack, that like it's an open system, it's easier to hack, but let's say they hack into one. Well, there's like a massive amount of phones that are not vulnerable. They've got different phones have all these different available spyware programs and virus programs that they could have. Whereas with Apple, there's like 3 different versions of the phone or whatever, that's like current, and they all are running, Apple's security programs. And what they were saying is that when they get hacked, they all get hacked. It's like you don't hear Androids having problems where someone turned on and captured all the footage from the front camera on an Apple device, which happened. You don't see all these celebrities having all their nudes leaked off the iCloud on Android devices. I'm just saying there are security things that come from a central closed system that's an issue, and that's a different episode. I know that.
It's also very tangential. You definitely are coming off as an Apple hater, and like I said, I totally get that.
Me?
I totally get. I really said I'm not a big Apple fan, but I think that bias might be a little premature, and obviously you're basing it upon facts and stuff that happened before. I get that. You're not wrong per se, but I think we're getting away from just what this means. This is the same as Facebook buying, Oculus. This is literally the exact same thing, only it's Apple. And like you said, and like Facebook is very much, they're still running an Android OS inside this thing. If you ever go into your SideQuest files and have a look, it's still organized by the same Android system. It's still in there. And more than likely, what they're going to do realistically with the iPhone or with the Apple VR, whatever we're going to call this thing, the iVR, I don't know.
It's probably going to be something with the word I or the letter I in front of it. Yeah.
It has to be, you'd think. It'll still be running its own system. That's fine. Like I say, it's more what they have to offer, because if they release a VR headset that just doesn't have games, it's dead in the water. And they can say, AR is to follow. AR to me, AR and VR are 2 very, very, very different things, and they are used very differently. And honestly, AR gaming for myself doesn't work. It's cool if you're like building blocks on like a table in front of you, but if you're going to play a first-person shooter, AR falls right apart, because now it's using your environment around you, and unless you rent a stadium and have like this thing augmented reality, which is just technology we don't have yet that I'm aware of, it's just not feasible for gaming. So we're stuck with VR. And with Facebook, Facebook and we talked about it a few episodes ago. They're the most active people in VR right now as far as buying up studios and publishing games and advertising and promoting their headsets and putting out new headsets. They just released a thing. They're working on the next follow-up to Oculus Quest 2. Now, obviously, everyone under this, think about it. Of course, they're working on their next headset. We don't know that could be 3 or 4 years down the road. There's no timeline. Of course, they're working on something. Apple had a headset slated to release in 2020 and scrapped it because it was too heavy and uncomfortable, and they decided it wasn't worth it. They probably invested millions into that thing to be like, no, not yet, scrap it. And now obviously the technology's caught up a bit more, now they're happy with it, possibly. But they need a library of games, and where Apple was praised for their games when the iPhones first came out, this was like PC, like console gaming is dead, like mobile gaming is the future of gaming. There was a whole big push from publishers to be like, we're not going to make console games. We're going to make games for phones now, because this is clear the market's going. And that's kind of reversed or balanced out, maybe is the best term for it, where it's balanced out, where obviously consoles still sell millions and millions and millions. And those preaching the death of consoles 4 years ago can just shut the fuck up, because that's not happening anytime soon. But you need to have you need to have those games, and if they're going to import all these old, if you're, let's just say it comes out and it's just running Moss, and it's just taking all these games we've been playing for the last 5 or 6 years. That's not good enough. You can't release a brand new $1,000 headset and be like, you can play Super Hot wirelessly when your Oculus Quest for a third of the price can easily do these things. So it has to somehow come to market if it comes out at the price they're projecting, over $1,000, it's got to blow everyone's socks off, man. Because if it even falls short in any way, shape, or form, it's dead in the water, in my personal opinion. Because that price point, if it was a $300 headset, obviously there's a lot more room for, you can be like, all right, I get it. I get to play Moss again. It's a $300 headset. It's not Facebook, which is also another thing. This isn't Facebook. So all you guys who are like, meh, I'm not getting a Quest because Facebook privacy, meh. Well, now you can go with iPhone and just have your privacy jeopardized by a different company. It's the same. Honestly, to me, it's the same. Different sides of the same coin. It's just pick your poison.
Well, yeah, they're sitting there bitching about it on Google Chrome while they're typing away with a webcam or a phone
Facebook.
Or a phone camera staring at their face.
I've read posts on Facebook where guys are like, I don't trust Facebook. I'm like, what is happening right now?
I do understand the idea that people don't. I understand, and I'm going to relate this to Apple. I understand why people are genuinely. There's a genuine, I think, issue with the fact that Facebook was starting to connect, like, if your Facebook account got banned, it jeopardized your Oculus access and stuff.
Look, I agree. I'm going
to
cut you up there. I'm agreeing with your points. I just think, like I said, we talked about before as well. Like it's kind of like, what are you doing on Facebook where you think you're going to get banned tomorrow? I mean, just don't. If you're concerned about that kind of stuff, just make a profile, make it legit, make everything private, never use it. You're good. Like, what's the issue here? Continue there. Sorry, I just totally cut you off.
I was just saying, if you look at the way Apple has handled iTunes in the past, they give less fucks than Facebook does, I think, with how they swing around what you own and don't own and things like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I want to take this back to the very beginning and just like set a baseline for what we know. You kind of touched on it a little bit. There's one headset that they're going to be releasing. It sounds like probably late this year. And it's going to be a consumer version. It sounds like it's going to be $1,000 or upwards of that. They just said all they said is it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
And then they say that like they know it's expensive. They don't expect to move a ton of like units. That's not the point. The point is actually to basically almost use like a consumer ready version as a beta test for different things and just different technologies and stuff. And that's cool because I have a feeling that they are going to try to innovate the VR market. That's sweet. And then they talk about the fact that the follow-up headset's going to be AR. And like you, I was like, that sounds stupid because to me, AR is everything people think VR gaming is. It's gimmicky.
Right.
It's like for gaming. Like, I mean, yeah, it's cool. It would be cool to play Beat Saber in your living room and like blocks are just coming at you out of your like wall and stuff. That's fucking cool. But as far as like real gaming, hardcore gaming, like Walking Dead in AR is just like, no, I want to be immersed in a game world. And that's not AR. Now, where I think AR is sick is not in the gaming applications. It's in the like business applications. Like I have a buddy who's a very successful tech guy in Silicon Valley. And one of the things his company's working on, I think they're called Scope AR. And they basically, and they've been doing this for years, working on AR applications to basically offer small to medium-sized businesses a virtual IT guy. And the way they were working it is you'd put on like something like a Google Glasses or something, and they'd be like, okay, open up the CPU. And then they'd be, okay, so now pull out that tray. And then literally a virtual version of the tray would like come, an animation of the tray. And then they could put virtual sticky notes on things that would stay. And they could literally use that guy's hands and communicate to him through AR without just having to like, okay, do you know what I'm saying? That red thing. No, they would actually say, and this is how you take it off, and an animation would show like that type of stuff with AR. And and when it comes to engineering and design and stuff, like AR is awesome. But when it comes to gaming, I'm like, whoop-de-doo. Like, yeah, Pokemon was fun. And Mario Live is cool. But the applications are still limited, I think, beyond real video games. So VR is still going to be where gaming sits.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, one more thing I want to say before I get back to you is I think that we talk about how it's all kind of conjecture, but I think there's some things that you can take to the bank with Apple. They're gonna have their own game store. They're gonna have their own app store. And so there's a lot of concerns around that, man. Like, and they're not going to be running Android. So they're going to be asking companies for previous games to report them.
Yep.
That's, some of these companies don't exist. Some of these teams don't exist, or they just don't care, especially if it's an expensive system that they don't even see. It's not even worth it to them. But there is something about Apple approaching you saying, we're going to do games. I mean, if they really get into it, just wait till the exclusives start flying between the two of them. Look at how Apple's been dealing with Apple TV. I mean, as a streaming service, and you can kind of see even exclusives that iTunes has gotten over Spotify. This is how Apple plays. So that's going to happen. But getting back to the hardware, it's going to look good. It's going to be comfortable. It's probably going to be like the Oculus Quest 2 Oculus didn't really look super concerned with making it really comfortable.
Yeah.
Apple will. Apple's going to be all about the user experience. It's probably going to track amazing.
Look, for $1,000, it has to check off every single box. It has to. Imagine it.
But even for $400, even if it was $400, I'm just saying there's certain things with Apple you can take to the bank. It's going to do the basic functions of a standalone VR headset probably better than anything out there, because that's all going to be about user experience, which has been their thing.
Yeah, no, and like I said, one of the things I mentioned earlier is the fact that goes about all the way, before this announcement, like they said, they bought a couple of VR studios over the course of the last few years, or VR centered studios. And one of the ones that was a big one was they bought a studio dedicated to foveated rendering, which is basically, for those who don't know, the game only generates what you're looking at. So basically, it can track your eyes and kind of cater the power of the headset to whatever you're looking at. So anything else outside of your sight line, it can not have to render. So basically, it allows for more powerful games to run in less powerful headsets. At least that's the theory behind foveated rendering broadly, anyways.
Which seems very appropriate for Apple, because foveated rendering is kind of the way that they approach their marketing. And the fact that they only really want you to see a certain part. They don't really want you to see that they're fucking you in the grand scheme of things. Anyways, continue.
I will. And so you've seen foveated rendering used in current VR apps across multiple headsets. You typically you'll see it as you'll notice like a circular, almost like around the edges of your vision, where things are being rendered less. And that's because the game's just obviously guessing your eyes are looking forward, so we can kind of guess that at your outskirts of your eyes you can't see that. Now, what I'm hoping for is with this $1,000 price tag, is that we'll see the first time we have eye-tracked foveated rendering.
Dynamic foveated rendering, yeah.
And that's kind of the next big hurdle or level, I guess, in VR, as far as maximizing power in these standalone headsets, which I think it's getting kind of clear that standalone is quickly becoming the way people will consume these things. I mean, honestly, the Quest, according to Facebook, the Quest is selling like hotcakes. And I tend to believe that. And because this is an Apple VR dedicated device, I would expect this thing to sell probably better than they think it will anyways, just because it is Apple. And I'm thinking to myself now, like, oh my God, like I'm going to buy an Apple headset. Like I'm dreading the idea of buying an Apple headset, because I don't want to be. I've managed to avoid the Apple universe since it became something, because I just hate it. I hate troubleshooting those things. Whenever someone comes to my house, like my iPhone or I'm having troubles with my iPod. I'm like, I can try, but like I can't. I'm like, how do you turn this thing on? Like, I'm useless. Anyways, like realistically, what I'm hoping for is that, I mean, like I said, it has to knock it out of the park, and I don't understand. I don't see, like, say, if they start releasing their own Apple exclusive games, that's a different story.
They'll have to have some of those.
Again,
that's one of those things I think that's one of the things, though, that is there are a few things I think that aren't conjecture. There's a few guarantees. They're going to come out with at least one or two games to be like, boom.
Enough? Is that enough, though? I mean,
no, maybe not. But there's the other thing. We're also, the one big conjecture is that they give a shit about gaming.
If it's a VR headset that's not designed for gaming, then it's dead in the water. Oh, look, you can
Well,
do business and social apps. $1,000, guys. No,
well,
no
like,
one's
the
paying
price point's a big thing, but I'm just saying, like, Apple, not Apple, but like Facebook's interest in getting into Oculus, I think, was very much not about gaming.
no.
It is very much business applications and connecting people just virtually. That's kind of their jam. I'm just saying, I think that Apple will be focusing less on games than I think some people think they will.
You know, it's not as you even said that, and even though I just said like that's stupid, there is actually validity to that because we don't have a ton of social VR apps. I mean, Facebook works on a few things. We have rec rooms and VR chats and whatnot, but as far as like just easy to pick up and use, like sit with your friend in VR apps, they're out there. I mean, there's actually a ton of them, but there isn't a lot of huge standouts, and Apple could do something with that. But like it always, like I said, if it was a $300 headset, if it was like viable for the average consumer in 2020 and 2021 to buy these things, sure. But we're still in COVID territory. People are still jobless. I think if this thing comes out for that price, they're not trying to sell it to people. It's priced too high to sell to the average consumer. I mean, how many?
And they've said that. They've actually said that.
But
yeah.
then what? So if you're not selling it to the average consumer, you're just trying to sell it to like people who have money. Like, what? I just don't understand. How do you build a market around that? How do you build a market?
I don't think they don't. Sounds like they don't plan to.
But then what's
like
the
it sounds
point?
like it. Well, because I think this first one is going to come out as a commercial proof of concept. I think like it's not going to be this beta unit. But I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like it. It just sounds like this is what they're preparing everybody for. It's going to be expensive. It's it's not going to be our main push to the commercial or to the to the average person. I think it's going to be here's a tech showcase. I think dynamic foveated rendering probably guaranteed to be in there. Probably going to have some like epic tracking features. One of the things we do know about it. One thing we do know about the specs on it is that, like you'd said, the original headset that they were talking about launching, they said was too front heavy and not comfortable. Sounds like another headset we know. But what they have done on the new one, even though we haven't seen it, but they've said they shrunk it drastically. It's much thinner. It's so thin and tight to the face that you actually cannot wear glasses in the Apple headset. You're actually going to have to order prescription lenses that I would imagine could probably be clipped on and off. But this thing is going to sit tight to the face, which also probably means it's going to have an awesome field of view. But this is just adds credibility to what you just said about, a really lightweight, super comfortable, easy to just like jump into headset. Sounds like Apple. And it sounds like they could go aggressively after, just like interaction, human interaction, because like you said, no one's really gone for that ease of use.
But once again, it still comes back. I mean, we only know about these two potential headsets. It's this VR headset followed by an AR headset, which in my market, it's not you can't follow up a VR headset with an AR headset. They're two separate markets and two separate items. It's like, yeah, we make PlayStations, and this is our follow up's going to be a DVD player. That's not quite
from
the
what
same thing.
My understanding was that the first one's going to be VR, and I think when they talk about the second one being AR, I think it's going to be an VR AR
a hybrid
unit.
So like,
yeah.
So
I think it's gonna.
expensive.
I think it's maybe not. They might pull out some of the really expensive tech in it, but I think what you're gonna when I say that, what I think of is like the way that the Quest can do the pass through, right, where you can see with the cameras. I'm thinking like, well, you make those cameras HD in full color, and all of a sudden now you've got AR capabilities. Like everything's still being seen through the screen.
Yeah,
but it does VR. Like I can't imagine you don't put out a VR headset to test the market and then not bring out a headset that can VR. Like that doesn't make sense. I feel like we're just not getting the full story about what that second headset's going to be. And let's be honest, that second headset could be the kind of design and the plan for that headset could change drastically depending on how this the first headset is treated and received. In fact, like we could not get that follow-up headset if Apple's just like, no, people didn't love it.
Look, we still potentially might not even get this first headset. I mean, there's nothing. This is all.
I think that sounds like it's really coming.
No, I agree. I agree that it sounds like it's coming, but like I said, none of this has come from Apple. Like nothing that we're talking about has actually come out of Apple's mouth. Most of this comes from a Bloomberg report and then subsequent research after the fact. And so I think Bloomberg, they're probably right. It sounds very much like this is going to happen. And like I said, they were going to release this headset in 2020 and scrapped it. It sounds like they put a ton of research into that one before they said. They pulled the plug because of comfort. I mean, it sounds to me like they were kind of like they were pretty far along in that development before they scrapped that.
Also shows you what their priorities are a little bit. Yeah,
no, totally. And it's like I say, it's a weird thing to talk about because it's going after that standalone market and it comes back to the Facebook Oculus Quest thing, but it's not like I don't know how they're going to come out of this thing without looking like just an expensive piece of VR hardware that it does this foveated rendering thing or it does whatever it does, but nothing uses it, nothing utilizes it, like no one's developing for it.
I agree with you totally, but there's a key aspect here. Fucking Apple, Ryan. Like seriously, I'm not just hating on it. I'm actually being dead serious now. Look at their phones. They are the most expensive phones on the market with the worst specs. I'm just saying, no, I'm not hating on it. In almost every category, they are behind on screen, camera, processing power, functionality, just features. They're always behind in features. And just like what you just said, compatibility, support, like what apps they support, they lack in all of those areas. Like they are drastically not supported. How many things have you seen where it's like only on iOS? Like it's like because it's so much, because Apple's very picky about what they allow, and especially if it has anything to do with like operating system stuff. I'm just saying everything you just said could be argued about the phone, but Apple are brilliant at marketing. And they make people think they have to have it. And it's the only one. That's what they did with their phones, though.
Yeah, but VR, I mean...
I know what you're saying.
The phones are revolutionary tech.
They were.
And I don't think VR is as revolutionary. And iPhone came out with smartphones basically first. I know BlackBerry was like first, but iPhones...
Oh, yeah, they defined that market, right?
Right, and I don't think with VR they're not doing that. They're coming in late to the game already, and Facebook has already proven to be very diabolical in their marketing as far as underselling their headsets, and even them like I said, buying up studios and like I said, I honestly, given the fact we have a whole year, I would expect Facebook honestly to be buying up a lot more studios if they're concerned about Apple as a competitor. I could see them trying to just shunt their competition by just not giving them options to have software. I mean, look, when iPhone doesn't get Beat Saber, because iPhone's not, or iVR, that's not getting Beat Saber. There's no way in hell that anything Oculus owned is going to be on Apple headsets. And Facebook owns a lot of VR studios and a lot of big titles that go along with them. I mean, Beat Saber is still like the number one selling game of like all time ever on every headset ever, because it's just, and when your Apple device can't have it, it has like Laser Beat on there instead, because that's the Apple derivative, because they can't get Beat Saber. Those things are like, when those single games push headsets, and now you're relying on Apple's whatever developers they have for their Apple only games. It's an uphill battle, man. And then we just factor in so many other things. Like I said, there is the Apple factor that it's just because it's Apple, it will work. I mean, that's not true. It's just,
unless Facebook decides, and it would be good for VR if they decided, no, like we're going to grow this industry and we're going to grow it with Apple.
I don't think so.
I know.
That would shock me. That would shock me.
It does, but I'm just saying, like, if you look at Facebook, and just like, I mean, Facebook they've played nice with Apple. They're not Android, like they don't compete directly, with Apple on a lot of fronts. I'm just saying, when you really look at it that way, it's like there's a possibility that Facebook may be looking at we need we need to grow. Nah, I don't think it's out of the. I don't think you're still seeing they've let Oculus exclusives go to Sony, for the better of VR. Although that was probably more Oculus making those moves. But I'm just saying, I think there is a world where that is a possibility, that Facebook goes, we need to grow this market before we compete.
I don't know, man. I mean, I get your point. I think I get the impression that Facebook wants to own the VR market. I think they're pushing hard to get that now. I mean,
but just keep in mind, they also probably want people to be using Facebook eventually to link with each other when they're in their headsets, like for the social applications. And that's going to be, and so that's Apple headsets using Facebook too. I'm just saying, it's like,
I mean, that's possible.
Here's where the conspiracy theorist in me is coming out now. But if you Google or just YouTube the board of directors on Facebook, because people are always like, well, how do they make money? Well, Facebook's board of directors is like all ex-military, ex-CIA, ex-government. Like, Facebook is funded by companies that are interested in the collection of data that they use. And even there's ex-Homeland Security on the board of directors. I mean, it's what better way to be able to approach your country from a security point of view than something where almost everybody's on it. I mean, Facebook, I think that when it comes down to it, their priority is that, and that is information gathering. And so I'm just saying, it's not out of the realm of possibility. In fact, I think it makes a lot of sense that they might play ball with Apple to a certain degree, because more headsets, period, means more people using the Facebook service to reach each other. I'm just saying, it's like, what is Facebook? I think that, but I mean, this goes back to the problem that people have with Facebook and Oculus, is questioning what their true motives are. What is their priority?
Look, I back your logic on that, except for the fact this headset isn't being built for the average Joe. I mean,
Not yet.
Not yet, sure. So maybe,
but it sounds like it's still very much a proof of it is more like we want to put it out there and see what sticks.
Sure, but then let's just assume then that the follow-up consumer money friendly version is like half the cost of this one. We'll just say $500 just for fun's sake here. That's what we'll just say, if they're planning on doing this headset, an AR headset in the following year, a follow-up VR headset in 2023, 2024. Like, we're already talking years down the road for a follow-up.
But they'll still be out. They'll still be out before PSVR 2.
That caught me off guard. But I think the way we've seen the VR market change and so fast, and the way Oculus Quest is taking over the market, they're going to be the biggest selling headset out there this year. It sounds like, unless production halts or unless something crazy happens, they're going to be the VR headset leader across anything. With your Vives, your Rifts, your PlayStation VRs, they're going to kill everything. And I totally see why. I mean, I'm definitely on that bandwagon. But if they have that control of the market, I just don't know why they'd be like, you know what, let's just let the Apple guys take it. I think VR sells itself once you play it. And I understand that, obviously, there's still tons of people out there who've never even put a headset on, or maybe they had one bad experience for whatever reason, and they're like, no, I'm not trying VR again. But now, because their one rich Apple friend is like, oh, I got an Apple VR headset, want to check out Superhot, and like, oh my god, this is the craziest VR. I mean, there is that potential, I suppose. It's just, I just don't think, I don't see how VR is going to grow off of what we've heard from this headset so far. It just seems like...
No, I mean, you can't, if you look at it from what we know now, especially the first headset, this isn't the take over the world move. No, this isn't it. And
I agree. You've said that multiple times. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just finding it hard to see the point of this. And obviously, like I said, we don't know. For all we know, they're going to come swinging out the gate, and they've got 1 billion games, and this thing's going to be just the craziest VR machine on the planet, and it's fucking amazing, and it's worth $2,000. We're just happy to get it for $1,000. We don't know. But the realist in me, all I see is, like, bad ideas and lost potential. And
Oh my God, Ryan, it's Apple. It's Apple.
look,
Sorry.
like I said, I'm not an Apple fan, and honestly, like we brought this up last week. We were about we've been thinking all week about talking about this. So I've been thinking about this all week, and it didn't occur to me till yesterday. I was like, wait a second, I'm going to buy an Apple headset, and I more than likely am, unless I hear something crazy or unless the price is like $3,000, $1,000 to see what they're doing. I'm basically saving all my little pennies from this little VR thing that I do to potentially buy this thing and see what it can do. And I'm still
I had that thought too. I started cutting myself.
like as much hesitance as I have towards this thing, I still want to know what the hell they're doing. I mean, the idea that Apple's entering the market and they're not, it's not like a, like put your iPhone in a Gear VR headset and that's our Apple VR. They are fully committing to the standalone headset that, like I said, it's triple the cost of, the Quest headsets. Assuming there is more power and more guts in that thing, what can this thing do? Like, I want to see what it can do. But like I said,
it's exciting. I mean,
it's totally exciting. I mean, like we've been very negative this whole episode, but I want to say, like, I'm really pumped to see Apple. This is the equivalent. I mean, I'm not sure who else getting into the VR market like this would you be excited for? I mean, Microsoft. Well, Microsoft, but Microsoft just totally ruined any chance they had of making a big splash in VR by releasing their mixed reality headsets. One, because they used mixed reality as a name, which was terrible, awful, because it's not what mixed reality is, and there's no advertising for it. They sold the license to multiple headset manufacturers, so now we have Lenovo and HTC and HP and all, like, there's like 4 or 5 different brands all publishing MR headsets. That
might be, but that might work with them. Look what they're going with.
It works for them. But no one.
But look at where they're going with their game side of things. And I've seen journalists say this too. Like, Microsoft is no longer competing with Sony in the console market. Not really.
No,
because Sony is doubling down on, like, we're your console. Like, we are the gaming console, and Microsoft's like, we are the gaming platform. That, like, their Xbox Game Pass and they're going cloud-based for so much stuff. Like, they don't care, Ryan, what hardware you use. I think they've made that very clear.
No, but I think the problem is like their own marketing of their own headsets screwed them over. Like, now, like, I mean, short of them releasing a Microsoft headset or an Xbox headset, anything they release now doesn't matter because it's not Microsoft. It's what's HP's next headset? What's Lenovo's next headset?
Of course it will be. But do you think that your console gamers, your Xbox console gamers, are really going to give a shit what headset they say works on their thing? They'll probably brand it. They'll probably be an Xbox headset, and it'll probably be something like the G2. I know what you're saying. I'm just saying, Microsoft getting into VR, they're a big swinging dick when it comes to the gaming market, and they have the access to PC games.
Yeah,
that's why it makes way more sense than Apple, because all of a sudden they're just like, Steam.
You have a G2. Have you used the Windows Mixed Reality Store?
Well, it sucks. It's not a Windows Mixed Reality Store. It's Microsoft's store. You literally have to filter it because there's all this crap in there. But they also, one thing I noticed, and I said this in my review, only a few minutes going through when you're on the main it's like the home screen basically, but it's like a game space so that you can walk around. As soon as you play around in that virtual space, you can see that they're not trying to push down your throat VR apps. They're pushing down your throat Microsoft functionality. Like, you can't even watch Netflix in like that VR environment like you can on Oculus. You download Microsoft's in the store. You download Netflix. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's very focused on that this headset is a gateway. It's just a peripheral to the Microsoft ecosystem, which could be very similar to how Apple functions too. I'm just saying, taking it back, when you're saying who would make a bigger difference to the VR market than Apple, maybe no one, but Microsoft, you can make a really good argument that they would disrupt shit hard. They could screw Sony so hard right now if they because, like, there's really nothing to stop them from saying, hey, all these PC games, pull them over because it's stiff. It's basically a PC running on a Microsoft operating system. Like, I'm just saying, and here's the headset because we have one. Like, we're involved in the making of it. Like, what I was going with this mainly, and you were talking about like Apple and just like them getting into the market and what that looks like and what that first headset's going to do and what it could do to the market. I think bottom line, all the conjecture aside, Sony's going to be getting into a very different market by the time they finally get that PSVR headset out, even if it's end of this year. I'm just saying, even if they did, I think at that point, we'll probably know what Apple's doing.
Yeah, that I agree with. Like I said, it's we're in a really weird space in VR. Where, like I said, we're transitioning from, I had a conversation on Facebook with a guy who's like, Quest is, what's the best headset? Like, is it a Quest 2 or is it something else? Because I want the best resolution, the best thing. I'm never gonna play this thing untethered. And I was like, I get that. Untethered is amazing. We've said it many times. Both of us agree. Untethered is the next level of VR. Like, I mean, like, honestly, being wired in, every time I have to plug my Quest in, just like if I'm recording footage and don't want to do anything wirelessly, I'm like, oh, I gotta fight with this stupid cable. PlayStation VR, man, every time I gotta like fuck with that goddamn cable, my feet, I'm just like, ah. And I know there's like cable solutions. I know you have those.
Yeah, but it doesn't work great with the PlayStation.
No.
It does, but it's a length issue. It's connected in the middle. It's a heavier cable. There's a lot of things against it. I think it's pretty much guaranteed that the Apple headset and the next PSVR 2 is like, they have to be wireless. It's now, or at least wireless capable.
And that's what kind of brings me back to the Apple headset. Like I said, Sony's. We talked about Sony to death, really, but the Apple headset still being standalone and potentially having just that much more power. I mean, we don't know what the guts. We don't know what chipsets they're using. We don't know any of that stuff. So there's no one can tear these things down yet and be like, well, actually, it's only 1.5 times more powerful than the Oculus Quest 2. There's none of that information yet, so we don't know if they're using something crazy new that we haven't seen. The next generation of whatever chip they're using that no one else is using. We don't know this yet. So I'm very much excited to see like what can this do, because honestly, what the Quest 2 can do standalone has blown me away, and it's limited and it doesn't come close to. It doesn't close. It just the best stuff on the PC still kills the best stuff on the Quest, but what the Quest can still do is absolutely mind blowing. Now, if they can get double the power out of that thing or triple the power like what the Quest has, and they can use that for gaming purposes, then I mean, we're gonna see something pretty crazy. And when $1,000 seems, if you're into VR gaming, $1,000 isn't too far away from a PSVR headset and a PlayStation 4 or 5.
Oh, of course not. No,
right?
It makes sense. It's just a hard sell in one shot. Like, I mean, my G2 was $800 Canadian.
Stop bragging.
I'm not bragging. It hurts. It's not worth it. Thing pisses me off.
There's your
I'm
review
still,
right there, boys.
I haven't played the G2 for almost 2 months now because I've been waiting because my controllers stick and they know it. It's even on their support page, and they're just backward. Like I just keep getting updates every 3 days. Nope, no controllers. It's a gorgeous system that pisses me off, and I hate Windows Mixed Reality. Everything, it's better, but still sucks. Anyways, I digress. I just think we're just into. I think like 2022. Standalone headset, you heard it here first. Standalone headset market is Oculus, Sony, Apple, and HTC.
For standalone?
Yeah. Because I think because HTC's been making noise about a portable getting back in the market with a wireless headset. And I think that's guaranteed that they're going to. Like, they made big waves. They're still a big name in the VR market. They just pulled back. Your HTC Vives are still what you almost see almost all the developers using. If you see them actually, like, I mean, I'm just saying HTC's still very much a factor, and I think that they're going to come out swinging. They're still doing shit in like for business applications, that. Yeah. I'm just saying, I think you're going to have Oculus wireless that plays tethered. You're going to have HTC wireless that plays tethered. You're going to have Apple not tethered, probably, because who the hell wants to tether to a Mac? And then you'll have Sony that tethers to the PlayStation.
If you want to tether your Apple, your $1,000 Apple VR headset, you also have to have a Mac as well. Oh my god! That's where I would draw the line.
So you can play Minecraft in VR.
I'm good.
But I mean, anyways, I know we keep going in circles, but
Yeah,
I think
we are.
I'm just saying the Apple thing is incredibly interesting to me because there's just certain things that you can take to the bank right now. Is it's going to be super user friendly. It's going to be slick as shit. But there's the big things of games. Like they don't have a game store. They don't do games. You know, that's why Sony and Oculus have been the only real players. It's what pushed HTC out of the market, I think, is that I can't even think of an HTC exclusive. I think they had a few, but they don't matter anymore. I'm just saying, you want to get into the game market, you got to make games.
Yeah.
It's where Sony still has the edge because they still got the fucking games. Like, you know, Hitman's the perfect example. There's just nothing even remotely close on the Quest.
Or PC, man. Even on PC, man. Hitman 3.
It's tough. It's tough.
Bold, big game. And I can't think of anything as big on PC, short of like modding the hell out of GTA 5 or whatever. But this is an actual official Sony released game.
But that's what happens when a game maker makes a fucking VR game headset. They have the studios in place. They have the know-how. And on top of that, they're a company that knows how to do hardware. They know how to do operating systems. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. So Sony's big move into VR is going to like shake the world to its core, probably for VR. But Apple getting into VR, and I just want to bring this back to the very beginning because we're probably coming up on our time here. Apple getting into VR, regardless of what I think about Apple, is huge for VR because, dude, even if the first headset's just like really expensive and elitist, and it's just not marketed as like a headset that you're going to go buy for Christmas. Just the fact that Apple is saying we're in VR crushes so many doubters. It's like, oh shit, Apple's into VR. And I mean, Apple's obviously not the Apple they were when Jobs is around. But Jobs had a really great quote, which I hope we see evidenced in the new Apple headset, and that was, people don't know what they want. He didn't believe in focus groups. He said you have to show them what they want. They don't have imagination. And you have to show them because they can't imagine what they want. And it's like, that would be very cool. I mean, we always say like, I don't think we're going to see any surprises, you know, in whatever headset we talk about. Like, I mean, we have an idea, but like, what if Apple brings to the table some shit that like just isn't in current headsets at all?
And that's and the one thing you just said, you kind of glossed over. You said even if they don't market it. When's the last time you never heard of Apple or heard of Apple not marketing one of their anythings? I mean, Jesus, those AirPods.
Because that's what they do. They're marketers.
That's what I'm saying. If and when they release this headset, everybody's going to know about it. Everybody under the sun is going to know that Apple has a VR headset. It's not going to be like, oh, did you know Apple has a VR headset? It's going to be like, man, if it's Christmas time or whatever, like there's still going to be ads on YouTube that are like, if you want the next level of VR, like buy the Ivory headset.
But imagine if the Apple headset, you know, if I put my Apple hate aside, I'm just saying, Apple hasn't had a reputation for being innovative since basically Jobs died off. Mm-hmm. Even when Jobs was there, they weren't having any big evolutions of anything. But imagine
earpods. Is that what they're called? The earpods. Is that what they're called? The stupid.
Was he? I guess kind of, sort of.
We made up Bluetooth headphones, guys.
Yeah, I mean, wireless headphones, innovative. I mean, let's be honest. Even the iPad and the iPod, they might as well just be paying dividends to Gene Roddenberry because it all came from fucking Star Trek, anyways.
Gene money. I agree.
It's not even that. Come on. Star Trek: The Next Generation, they were walking around with iPads like the entire show. They even look like iPads. Anyways, I digress. Imagine if Apple did what they did to the VR market, what they did to the phone market and the digital music market. I'm just saying, imagine that. Imagine that if we have no idea of the technology that they're even going to use. Like if Virtual Boys was functioning back in like the late 90s and we were talking about like, oh my God, Apple's getting into the phone market. Well, this is what they're probably going to bring to the market. We had no fucking clue what they were going to do to the market. So like, I mean, I think the biggest thing that, if I had to guess where Apple's going to innovate in VR, is the way that you interface with it. Controllers.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because I mean, even with all the controller types we have across a multitude of headsets, all we see is patents for like touch controllers and all these like little like haptic feedback things. We haven't seen that get utilized in it properly, other than I guess the Valve Knuckles was the kind of the closest thing we got to.
Yep, hand tracking's still not amazing,
No.
and if anyone was going to do it, it would probably be Apple.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously the tech's there, and I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that I mean, like you can find a way to use hand tracking properly in a game or not in a game. It can still kind of be pretty cool to interact with the world around you with just your hands. It's awesome. I would love to see like virtual tour apps where you can just like actually like just do stuff with you. I don't know, there's tons of potential there. You're not wrong. To get back to your point there, Apple could definitely change the VR landscape. Potentially, they very much could. The price point suggests they're going to come out here with a big, huge bang and deliver on hopefully what we expect them to, which is a innovative and new product. Will they? Hopefully, we find out this year, maybe early next year. But
there's also the Apple effect. If Apple gets into VR and really starts to make a go of it, and people like start being like, holy crap, so we're, like, I guess, we're going to have a VR headset in the house. How long until Samsung drops a VR headset?
They have a Samsung VR. They got two of them.
They have a Samsung VR headset?
There's two, I believe, for mixed reality. That
doesn't count. I'm talking a real, like, really getting into it. Like their own operating system, probably using Android. But anyways, I digress. I'm just saying, Apple getting into VR, if they're successful at it, will cause waves.
I wonder if Google will get back into VR. That like
Google probably owns,
but they've
Apple and Facebook.
But they really stepped away from VR. Now that I'm thinking about it, they totally
well, there's Google and there's Amazon. These are your two big players that like have.
Yeah, but Amazon has never been big on making their own tech. Other than the
yeah, but they're getting there though. Like, look at the Alexa. Ugh. I'm just saying. I mean, I have Alexas everywhere.
Facebook never made tech either. I guess I'm kind of talking out of my ass here.
They just bought a tech company.
That's true.
Which is not. I'm just saying it's not out of the ordinary either. There's just a lot of plays that could happen here, and I know that we keep getting into this futurization, but I think just focusing on what Apple can do to the market when they inevitably come in it's just a big deal.
Yep.
I don't want to buy an Apple headset though, Ryan.
Neither do I. But I think I love VR so much that if I can, I probably will.
Oh, but I can just imagine. Oh, I have such a hate on though, Ryan. Every episode's gonna be like, oh, welcome to Shughead Gaming. Fucking god damn it, we gotta review this piece of shit game.
My work laptop to upload because it'll all be through iTunes still, right? So you'll be like trying to download your games through iTunes and syncing stuff. So I don't want iTunes in my gaming PC.
Oh, it's gonna tether to your Apple phone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's not even gonna come with earphones. You're gonna have to buy iPods separately.
Yeah, for sure. Not for sure. We're back on the hate train. Shug, I think we're done rambling about virtual reality, augmented reality. I don't know. I would love to know what they're going to call this thing. We're done. I think we're done talking.
It's going to be it's going to be like the IRV, and people are going, why is it the IRV? Because we're Apple and we're difficult, and we don't want to be VR. We're RV now.
I hope they don't say XR. I really hate the XR moniker. Sorry, it's acronym. There we go.
Hopefully they don't come up with something with like the IV, because it'll be just like, yeah, you hook up to the IV and get a shot of suck.
That's just it. It's the Ivory headset. It'll be IVRY, the Ivory headset. I don't know, we're rambling, Shug. We're rambling. I'm cutting it off. We're just circling the same thoughts over and over here. I'm cutting you off, Shug. That's our thoughts on Apple entering VR. And obviously, if we're still doing this podcast in a year, which I plan to be doing, we will be covering that headset unlike probably every other channel on the planet. That is a Virtual Boys guarantee.
Yeah, Virtual Boys. This will be the most biased, at least on this side of the screen. No, this side of the screen. This will be the most biased point of view on the Apple device on the market.
Fuck yeah. Virtual Boys promise. Shug, where can we find you?
I am Shughead Gaming, guys. So you catch me on YouTube doing that. Obviously Twitter at Shughead. And we got a Discord channel that I'm still procrastinating on, that we're over 1,000 strong, but we're getting ready to revamp it and be a fun VR destination for you. Hopefully it might even be a little bit of a side home for Virtual Boys, but that's something in the making. But anyways, guys, yeah, check me out there. And how about you, Ryan?
The VR Grid, YouTube. I'm the VR Grid on social media. TheVRGrid.com, where I publish my reviews in written format. And the Virtual Boys is only getting bigger, boys and girls. Like I said, if you can find us on your favorite podcast app, and just hitting that like button or downloading our stuff helps huge. We are planning on doing a bunch of stuff in the very near future, so stay tuned for that. As far as social media stuff and some Patreon stuff, I'm just kind of testing waters here. We're not ready for that stuff yet, but it is coming, and we're planning on making this thing the best, most professional, that's a joke, podcast centered around virtual reality.
Hey, it's getting there. Each episode's better, Ryan. It's not always amateur hour.
I like it that it's a little bit amateur.
You're looking good. Well, the sunlight's not attacking you today, so that's good.
See, every day is like little improvements. I'm slowly learning how to use technology and close windows. It's pretty, guys. I learned how to Windows work. It's awesome.
Well, I don't know what to say about that, but hey, on closing, guys, thanks again for tuning in. And of course, feel free to share it, like it, pour us to your friends. But in the comments, guys, I would love to know what you think about Apple getting into the market. Will you buy an Apple headset? What would that be worth to you? And like, basically, what do you think I would love to know what you guys think Apple getting into the market looks like. Even if you're not interested in, like, what do you think, positive or negative, that's going to be? I'd love to see your guys' comments. And that might be something, we discuss in a future episode too. So
absolutely.
Comment. We love the conversation. And that's something that we're also going to be looking to offer as like Ryan said, we look at some Patreon stuff, because really we're looking at that as just a way to interact and get to pick your guys' heads too. So you're not always just listening to us. We want to listen to you.
Yep.
So on that note, I'm out, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
See y'all.